Good morning, everybody. Curtis Wilkerson here with Inside Arkansas on the pod at the Palace, coming to you with another episode of the Hoop Hogs Video Mailbag, where you ask me an Arkansas basketball related question and I do my best to answer it. We've been doing these every day for closing in on a month now. We're trying to do one every single day leading up to the start of the college basketball season. We got plenty to get to, so we're going to get right into it with today's question. And it comes from Jack Benson. It's a good one. He says, what do you think will be this team's biggest strength and biggest weakness? So I thought about this question for a little bit. I think I'm actually going to expand on it. I'm going to take it a step further, if you don't mind. We're going to get into, if you've taken a business course, you're probably familiar with a SWOT analysis. It's SWOT being SWOT. And what that stands for is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. It's just an old business term, an evaluative tool that's used. And we're going to do that for this Arkansas basketball team because it's a little bit hard to say right now with all the new pieces put together. You haven't seen them play, haven't seen them practice, don't know how it's going to pan out. So there's some projecting that's involved. So there's a few things I feel pretty strongly about, but a couple other things that I have my eyes on. So we're going to do that. So for the SWOT analysis, obviously, we'll start with the S, the strength. And for me, it's talent, man. I mean, it's kind of hard to deny. I mean, when you look at this roster, you've got, 3 McDonald's All-Americans on this roster. You have a 4th 5-star on this roster in Billy Richmond. You've got 2 of the top 10 transfers incoming in the country in Nelly Davis and Jonas Adu. You've got 2, draft potential upperclassmen in Adu Thiero. People think he might be able to pop and become, a first-round pick next season. Trevin Brazil, who we've seen when he's healthy, he's every bit capable of being an NBA draft prospect. So, 1 through 9 on this roster, you look at it, super, super talented, super, super athletic. So to me, like independent of that weird graphic that's been floating around on Twitter, it says Arkansas is the 18th most talented team in the country or something. That's crazy. They've got the talent, the size, and the athleticism to play with anybody. They're not going to be overmatched. That matters. And all you can go off right now is on paper. Well, on paper, Arkansas is one of the more talented teams in the country. So that's definitely a strength for them. Well, okay, on to the W. What about a weakness? For me, this is tricky. And I could have gone in one or two directions. It'll make a little bit more sense here in a minute. I could wind up being wrong, and I hope that I am. But looking at it again on paper, I worry a little bit about 3-point shooting with this team. I do. There's a chance there that Arkansas can be a serviceable to good 3-point shooting team. There is. Nelly Davis is a proven 3-point shooter, plus 40%. He's got good volume. He's going to be able to knock it down. He's also going to be Arkansas's go-to scorer. So it's not like he's got a catch and shoot guy from, the wing or whatever. He gets to drive and kicks and knocks them down. That's not really going to be his game. But he's probably going to be your best shooter. We know that, Brazil can shoot the 3, probably not a ton of volume there, but he's proven that he can be consistent out there. But really, outside of that, you're really relying on projections more than you are production, right? And that's why I identify it as a potential weakness. I think Adu Thiero can make more than the 10 3-pointers he's made in 2 years combined. I think DJ Wagner can shoot better than 28% from 3. I think that Carter Knox could be a 33%-ish 3-point shooter if he has better shot selection than he did in high school. I think Boogie Flan can step in and be a guy who can shoot it at a high percentage and give you good volume from 3. I think all of those things, but I don't know all of those things to be fact. So until we see it a little bit more and how it plays out, it's hard to say. Big Z, another one that I didn't mention there. I think he can give you Trevin Brazil type of volume from 3, but we don't know that for sure. And so until we do, I kind of look at it and I see, man, there's not a lot of proven 3-point shooting production on this roster. That doesn't mean they can't prove it, but they haven't yet. So it's something I have my eye on as a potential weakness. And then you get to opportunities. And I think what we mean by opportunities here is something that you have an opportunity to turn into a strength. It might not be one just yet. I think this team has the opportunity to be really strong defensively. I like a lot of the pieces. I mean, I like the rim protection there with Jonas Adu, with Big Z, with Trevin Brazil. I like the versatile lockdown defender who's switchable in Adu Thiero. I think that Nelly Davis is a very underrated defender. I think DJ Wagner is an underrated defender. Boogie Fland is a guy who I think can be disruptive and pesky on the ball and get into passing lanes. They've got the pieces to be good defensively, but Cal's teams have not been good defensively the last few years. And it hasn't been because of a lack of talent and ability. It's been because schematically it's just been a mess. They've really struggled in ball screen coverages. They've struggled in help side rotations. They have struggled, you name it. It's kind of been a mess, and they're going to have to really tighten the screws on that thing and play good, solid, fundamental team defense. Because it is very much a you are as strong as your weakest link kind of situation. Those guys, they have to be on a string defensively, and those Kentucky teams just haven't been that. So if they can take a step forward in that regard and be really sound fundamentally there, all the pieces are in place for them to be good, to have opportunity to be good on the defensive end. And then I also think this Arkansas team has the opportunity to feast on certain portions of the schedule and really rack up wins. This non-conference schedule is a little bit misleading. Like, you have some great games in some really cool places. The Baylor game is going to be really tough, but like Michigan is a team you should beat on a neutral. Miami is a really good opportunity for a key road win. Illinois, kind of same idea from the neutral standpoint, but the rest of the non-conference, they should really feast. Early SEC play and wrapping up SEC play, it's light, comparatively speaking. So I think there's some pockets in the schedule where they could really have the opportunity to rack up some wins. And then you go to the final portion here, the threats. And so if we had opportunities for strengths, we have threats for something that could become a weakness. And that I do think is depth for Arkansas. Now, the good thing is you might not see it matter, right? If Arkansas stays healthy, and if everybody hits, and that's the biggest part about this too. You think, okay, they got 9 guys they can really count on. As long as they avoid injuries, knock on wood, they'll be fine. Yeah, as long as they avoid injuries and as long as their evaluations were all solid, if all these guys hit, if these freshmen come in and are able to make the impact and pop right away, if Trevin Brazil gets back to the player he was pre-injury, if Adu Thiero does make that leap, if DJ Wagner does make the freshman to sophomore leap, there's a lot of what ifs there for this team, and you need certainly more better answers than wrong evaluations, right? But yeah, you can absorb an injury and be fine playing 7 to 8 guys in SEC play and down the stretch. But if you get a couple, this thing, it can look super thin in a hurry, right? I mean, it's fair to say, because there is a pretty massive drop off after the top 9, and that's by design. This is a risk that they're taking, hoping that the reward is to have better chemistry, guys who aren't looking over their shoulder, guys who understand what their roles are going to be and know that they can play through some mistakes. You've already had 2 bigs in a boot recently here in practice, and that that stuff is out of precaution. And I think people get a little bit panicked about a boot. Like, it's not a cast. I worked in athletic training at the college level for 10 years. Somebody rolls an ankle, we put them in a boot. Somebody has a heel bruise, we put them in a boot. If their calf or Achilles tendon is sore, we put them in a boot. And it's not because it's stabilizing the thing or that it's a brace or anything like that. It just takes pressure off of it, helps you heal quicker. And so it's a precautionary thing. Like, I've seen Ricky Council walk into Bud Walton Arena in a walking boot and win a dunk contest that night. I've seen Anthony Black walk all over Vegas or all over Cedar Rapids, Iowa in a boot and then play 40 minutes and beat Kansas to get to a Sweet 16. Like, it's just, you see those things. But still, anytime you have guys who aren't practicing or appear to be hampered by some sort of injury, you wonder about it. But when Jonas Adu and Big Z are both in a boot, you look out there on the floor and you go, okay, all right, well, Arkansas's front court is Trevin Brazil and nobody. That's it. That's all they have, because they didn't get a bunch of depth there in the front court. So that's a little bit alarming. You'd rather have that problem now than in January or February or whatever. But that depth is something to keep an eye on for sure. So hopefully that went above and beyond in answering your question, but I really do appreciate it. That was good stuff there. And folks, keep them coming. Like we said, we're trying to post one of these about 8 o'clock every single morning leading up to the college basketball season, but that's on you. You got to keep asking the questions. We still have a ton to get to. If you're wondering how to do that, I have a thread pinned on my Twitter profile. It's at Kurt Wilkerson _. we will see the Hoop Hogs Video Mailbag. Just drop your question in the comments. If you watch these videos on YouTube, first of all, make sure you're subscribed to our Inside Arkansas YouTube page and comment on there if you have a question. I go through and check in on those every day. And I've kind of got a running list of the questions that I need to get to, and I will definitely get to yours. So appreciate you guys as always. We will be back tomorrow with another episode of the Hoop Hogs Video Mailbag. It's been Curtis Wilkerson with Inside Arkansas and the Pod at the Palace. Everybody have a good one.